Hello, Jared. I'm just gonna wait here. I guess just me and you so far. So,
Problem. I emailed the lab yesterday to pick the schematics, the lab. I don't know if those were done right though.
what for solid state?
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen. Did you get my feedback on that? Because the only thing I seen that was in the DC supplies, they're two ended. So like when you connect the one side into the circuit, the other side has to be connected to like a ground. Because when you leave it open like that, what it's
I
looking
wasn't,
at, huh?
I wasn't sure about that. I wasn't sure about that because I don't know how it's supposed to look.
Yeah, I was gonna try. Let me see. Maybe on Monday I'll go over and do like a kind of a demo and just show how to connect up those DC supplies and stuff.
Yeah, 'cause like I was gonna ask it like after it's turned in, like past its due date. I was wondering if you could show how it's supposed to look like, so we have an idea.
Oh yeah, no, I could definitely do that because I'll go ahead and actually, yeah, that would be a good idea. I could set up the circuit from the lab and just go over it with everybody and make sure we're all on the same page and stuff. I know it's just it's something new, so it's like a learning experience for everybody right now. So
Yeah, I thought this was start at 12 o'clock. Because usually you could start like last time at 12 o'clock.
yeah, well, get out of here, dog.
Yeah, I got a dog sleeping right next to me.
What's up?
Yeah, I got a dog sleeping right next to me.
Oh, yeah, I've got my dogs right here too. Uh, well, no, after today, I should have the full license and everything for the Zoom software, so we'll be able to stretch it more than the 40 minutes that I have right now. Because the 40 minutes is just cutting it kind of close. So what I would like to do, I should be getting the full Zoom license. Hi, Nathaniel. I should be getting a full Zoom license today or tomorrow, and then that way next week what I can do is, well, what I'm going to do is basically I'll set up the Zoom meeting, open up at 12, and then I can keep it running. But this way, from like 12 to 1, I can keep it kind of open for them, and that way if people have questions or even like the thing with the simulator, we can go over that and stuff like that. Excuse me. And then that way it won't interfere with our lecture time and stuff like that. Because I know some of the instructors aren't even doing like the video conference like this. They're just, I think, essentially just filming their lecture with their like with their voiceover on the slides and stuff like that, and then uploading it. And I kind of like the meeting aspect because we can still do the lecture and everything, and then I have time for questions and things like that too, which I think is kind of a little handier, a little more helpful.
I have a question though. What's ICC doing? Because I was told earlier this week that they extended the stay-at-home duration.
Yeah, the governor went through, and it looks like we're
Until like end of April.
right till April 30th. So we're still we'll still be on lockdown. So we'll have to basically we're gonna have to the online classes going at least until then. The one thing I know that you know, the main deed, Dr. What the heck is his name? Dr. Aqua or something like that. He's he's been in contact with the federal government as far as like how we want to do the grading situation for this instead of doing like the classic style like the A B C D F grading and doing more of a pass fail type thing where it doesn't impact your GPA, but you still get full credit for the course if you pass, right? But I haven't heard back on that yet because I know, you know, government negotiations, those things always take time, but that's one thing I know that they're looking into. And then, yeah, we'll have to keep the online version going at least until April 30th. And I'm hoping that, you know, we'll have to see, like I say, we'll have to see how everything goes. But if I mean, if we can get into class, that'd be handy. And then what I can do is go ahead and we can do the more, I guess, the advanced hands-on part of the whole course. And then, because the beginning parts were all like entry-level stuff. I posted, I don't know if anybody noticed, I posted like some videos on Blackboard from Electrician
Yeah, I
U.
see them right now.
Yeah, they're actually kind of helpful. He gives a good demo. And I thought I'd post up like the different topics that he has and have everybody view those. At least that way you're seeing how like the wiring gets done and stuff like that, which is the main part of it. Really, I mean, a lot of this class is us learning or becoming familiar with the NEC, with safety regulations, and that kind of thing. But so and I don't know if everybody got my post from today, but I am with this class. It's kind of fast paced, like, you know, because there is a lot to cover in 8 weeks at a time, and this is a standalone class. It literally exists outside of the rest of the electrician's course, you know, for industrial electricity. But here I think I think you learn a lot of good basics that'll carry over into pretty much anything and everything that you decide to go into later on. Um, excuse me. But well, so yeah, I wanted to. Well, let's see. One thing I want to show here. Let's take a look. I hope everybody. Oh, we should be able to see this, but so, I mean, the way I'm doing this one is like I have the days laid out and I went through and changed the dates accordingly. I still have to update like a lot of the assignments and stuff, but all the near ones coming up are all laid out in a good way. I don't know if anybody uses like the course calendar here. Of course, mine's going to look.
I checked it this morning.
Yeah, because see, well, ignore the ones in blue here, but the ones in green, that's all my, that's everything for this class that I have laid out pretty much for the next 2 weeks here. I might have a couple others, but so we have basically what this week is chapters 1 and 2, and then there's your 2 homeworks that are due there. I'm not set in stone. I mean, if things come up, if you need extension or something like that, let me know. Excuse me. So what I have set up, it's like chapter 1 and 2 homework, and then I have an article summary. You'll basically go into that that homework, and there's an article I want you to read, and we also have what I call code quiz number 1. Now, normally that one I like to do in class because then you have the NEC books available to you there. This one, I'm afraid you're gonna have to I would Google it because a lot of the stuff out there, NEC is available on the web and you'll be able to reference it. So if you Google the questions, you'll be able to get the answers and stuff like that. But it's a good way to start getting familiar with like the codes and things like that because we are gonna be looking at that. Pretty much the way they have the NEC laid out in the very beginning is pretty basic stuff. They have like the Article 90s and the Article 100 stuff, and that's all very basic. There's definitions and kind of do's and don'ts in there. And then after that, what they start getting into is sections 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, 1, 2, 3, and 4 applies, and as far as the NEC goes, applies to all of us. I mean, it does not matter what kind of an electrician you are, you know, whether you're residential, commercial, industrial, or whatever, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4 applies to everybody. After that, then it starts getting more specialized. Like there's sections in there for like if you're an HVAC, you know, what kind of things you'd have to cover. If you're an industrial electrician, what kind of things, inspectors, and so on. But 1, 2, 3, and 4 applies to everybody. And that's kind of the focus, you know, we keep it more to the introductory, right? So we stick with the NEC 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then Articles 90 and the flavors in that, and Articles 100, which are in the very beginning section. But that's all this code quiz is. It's just a few questions asking, you know, kind of like general terms and look up what does the code say about this. So if you could go through that, of course, and I know, of course, it's take home, right? Hold on here. Let me make sure nobody is waiting. Okay. But then yeah, then later on what I do, it's like, and then you see for like next Thursday, then there's your first quiz. That'll be a chapter 1 and chapter 2 quiz. And then the 3 things below that are all about the drawings. So if nobody has the textbook, I got to work on getting an electronic copy of these drawings. I have the electronic copy of the book, but I don't have the electronic copy of the drawings, and I'd have to see how I can go about getting that.
Yeah, I don't have I don't have the drawings because I usually get my stuff like during like day 4 before day 4 class starts.
Okay. All right, then, yeah, then I'll see what I can do, because there should be an electronic version of that available. They're just, I mean, they're pretty standard. Although I will say that this house is an extremely nice house. It even has a swimming pool and a sauna type thing, and it has like pretty much all the bells and whistles, which is intentional, right? It's pretty much like everything you would possibly run into doing a residence. But so I do like it. But yeah, this house is pretty amazing. Anybody would be pretty happy living there. Which, if you do look at the drawings, you'll lay it out. It's pretty good size, and like I say, it has a swimming pool and everything with it. But these go through and ask like some pretty specific questions just to get you familiar with looking at like residential drawings. And again, it's different than anything else you'll run into. It's not like electronic schematics or later on when you get into like 150 where they do ladder diagrams and stuff like that. This is it's building plans. And granted, we do have I have to see, I have to double check, but in actually in the uglies book, we do have there is a section in there that does show symbols. And you know, and symbols will vary, right? You know, you'll have a specific set of electrical symbols for if you're doing schematics, right? And then you'll have a specific set for ladder diagrams, and then you have a specific set for building drawings. So it's good for us to get familiar, and I mean, it's nothing really complicated, but you should be able to recognize when you see a lumen, right, a light fixture, or if you see receptacles. And then there's even things that delineate what kind of receptacles you're looking at, right? Is it a single? Is it a dual, or you know, a quad or whatnot? And that's the kind of thing I like just to get you familiar with looking at. So that way, if you do see like, okay, this is a receptacle symbol, and maybe okay, oh, you know, I don't remember what type that is, but you'd be able to look it up in like the uglies book and see it's like, oh, okay, this is calling for this. But so no, that's how the homeworks are laid out. I got pretty much everything set up for like the next 2 weeks for us. And I'll keep going through and updating the dates and stuff like that. So, but it's very
Also,
homework. Yes, go ahead.
on the for advanced solid state, I'm pretty sure I could find the formula sheet for last class. But I was curious if you could put a formula sheet on put a formula sheet from the regular solid
Oh,
state.
yeah, absolutely. I can
Imagine,
do that. We'll do that, Joe.
imagine in that lab we use those formulas.
Right, right. All right, let me go through here real quick. And what we're going to look, I got a couple of things I want to go over today, so I don't want to run out of time here. But what I want to cover today, hold on here. And you'll notice in, like, if you look at day 2, there's a section for chapter 1 lecture notes, which is like your PowerPoint slides for you. Then the intro to the Uglies book lecture that we're going to cover. And then I have one where it's kind of really it's a pictorial more than anything. Let's see if I get this going correctly. I think, okay, now that should be showing us our slides. So these are just a series of pictures basically explaining, okay, why do we have the NEC, right, the National Electrical Code? So basically, and it's not enforceable, right? This is the National Electrical Code is simply a guideline, if you will. There's no, it's not, there's not like electrical police running around going, oh, you're in violation, you know, that kind of thing. Pretty much it's enforceable by whichever governing agency of the region that you're in. And it varies, right? Who has the final say so of what should be built and how. And it changes from place to place. You'll be surprised. In some places, it could be the electrical inspector appointed by the county. It could be an electrical inspector appointed by a city, that kind of thing. But and not in all places do you have an electrical inspector. And so then you have to ask. It's like, okay, who is the governing authority? Well, it does vary, but no matter where you are, no matter what you build, there is a governing authority involved in there, and they do have at least a minimal version of the National Electrical Code that they're using. And this thing does change pretty much every 3 years. So they've got the new one coming out this year for 2020, but we're still going to use the 2017 version. But yeah, it does change pretty much on average every 3 years. Sometimes that changes a little bit, but you can almost set it in stone at every 3 years you're going to get a new update. And that's just because technology changes or things happen and they update the code accordingly. I mean, it used to be standard that way back in the day, of course, you had a 60 amp service in a house, right? Well, that's like almost unheard of these days. You wouldn't even see 60. Well, you probably still will find some 60 amp services, but mostly these days is 100 amp or up service. Excuse me. But the following slides will show you. It's kind of amusing. So these are different pictures, and these are actual things. People have done this, right? So here's your input electrical to a residence, okay? And you'll notice these are vice grips here, and those are couplings, and they're crimp couplings, and they're meant to hold, you know, your delivery into this house. And it's not even an insulated thing. So if anybody or anything came along and touched these, right? Oh, there you go. Is everybody able to see this okay?
Yeah,
Oh dear Lord.
Huh?
I said, oh dear Lord.
Oh, right. You like that? Yeah, and to a tree. And then it's and that's seal type, right? So he did use the proper outside type thing, because what this is like a metal flexible tubing, and it has the rubber sheathing around it. But yeah, look at this. We got a nail strap pounded into a tree, and it's crimping it. And then you got stuff like this. There's so much you can't even put it into the box anymore, right? which is just crazy. Or you get this wonderful little one where, yeah, because you're supposed to have a cover on the outside of all your panels, right? And you can see there's a lot of exposed wiring even and whatnot. And this, you have, I mean, my hat's off to this. It's a neat job, but there is actually, you'll find, we'll do some exercises later too, actually, based on how many conductors are allowed in a raceway. And in this case, this is considered a raceway. And the reason being is you'll have with it, you get a certain amount of heat expansion and whatnot. And if your wires start flexing, they can actually cause damage to themselves or to the raceway or whatever have you. But I mean, you have to admit it is a neat job, but yeah, that would not be allowed. And here you go. This is rather inventive and rather creative. So these are all extension rings on a beginning box, right? It's got the piping coming in and extension rings all the way down. Yeah, you're allowed one extension ring on a box. Let's see here. And it's pretty, isn't it? It's nice and neat. And at first glance, you think, oh, there's nothing wrong here. But there's actually several things wrong with this picture, believe it or not. One, you have the disconnect directly over the AC. So if the AC were to, let's say, catch on fire, right? You're supposed to be able to turn off the disconnect to the device that's on fire. But if this was on fire, there would be no way you could possibly reach that disconnect. Not to mention, let's say the disconnect had a problem of some sort and the fuses burst or it went into flames or whatever. You've got the direct feed directly above them. So yeah, this whole thing is a huge no-no. And then these are kind of creative ones. Now, one thing I'll point out, and NEC states it, so whenever you see a disconnect like this, see each one of those breakers, right? This is a disconnect panel, so you should be able to turn each of these off, right? You are not allowed to have any kind of anything 36 inches in front of this. And here we've got a pipe going directly across. And then they also state whenever you're like in a wet type situation, like in this case, you're on the ground, you have to be a minimum of like 48 inches above. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can see it's about 6 inches right there. These are fun little pictures. I mean, yep. These are all the real things that people have found. And in this case, you got the service feed actually coming into this thing. It's on a plywood backing on a pole, feeding into some kind of connection box as well here and down. And you can see here the straps are missing. So that allowed the pipe to fall and of course busted the coupling. So now those wires are, every time this pipe moves, basically it's biting into the wires, not to mention on this LB right here, you do not have the cover. Yeah, these are fun. So yeah, why do we have the National Electrical Code? Basically, it's a standard for safety in every electrical installation. And hopefully you would hope that people would pay attention to this, right? Doesn't always work out that way. So some of the stuff you'll find as you go through life are going to be kind of amusing for you. You just got to kind of shake your head. But let's see. So now let me go on here. So I got a couple of things we're going to go over today for us. Let me load up our next slide. Day 2. We're also going to take a look at kind of an introduction to the, does everybody have their Uglies book, by the way?
Yeah.
Yes, I just got mine yesterday.
Awesome. Yeah, this thing is, I don't know. It's my favorite. It's like the oh, hold on here.
It's much smaller than I expected it to be.
Well, right, and but there's a ton of information packed in there. And the reason they did it like that, it's so you can actually carry it around. See, mine was always in my tool bag. I never not had it in my tool bag, honestly, because, and in fact, I used it so much that both my front and back covers were torn off, and then I ended up keeping it in fact, I recommend this. Find like I kept mine in like a Ziploc freezer bag, the heavy duty ones, and then I kept that inside of a pocket inside of my tool bag, so it was protected. But yeah, there's so much information. I literally always wanted that thing around just because it was so awesome. I mean, one right on the cover, right? You got everything you need right there. Is everybody able to see that? Okay. Bye. Hopefully.
Yep, I could see it.
All right, good. So our intro to Uglies book. So, and everything I do in this class, like even when you were in class, even, right? All the homeworks, all the quizzes, even the final, you were allowed to have your Uglies book with you, because I expect you to have it with you at work. I'd expect you to have it with you, while you do classwork as well. But I got like, I'm trying to remember. I think it's like 3 different quizzes I have where you have to reference back to the Uglies book and find information in there. I even have, I think, if we want to do it, I have an extra credit exercise towards the end of class that it's referencing the Uglies book as well. But there's new terms we're going to run into, right, with this whole class and different concepts. And this thing applies, I mean, you're going to use this in a lot of your classes that you're going to go through. If you're going for the associates or even a certificate, you'll use it in this class. You'll use it in 150. You can use it for your PLC class. There's just so much. This, without a doubt, is the best money you'll ever spend. I swear to you. And I would even update it as I go along, because the Uglies book updates right with the NEC code. So sometime this year they'll be coming out with the 2020 version as well. But yeah, this book is so awesome. I call it the Bible. But yeah, right on the cover we've got our rules, right? We've got Ohm's law, and then on this side that's Joule's law, and then the combinations of both of those. And pretty much, I mean, if you get all those down, and of course there's always different versions of these rules, right? Some of them are kind of complex. You'll actually find we're going to do a couple of interesting ones, but really all we use in this class are these laws right here. But we just do some different flavors of it, really. You have this in here. I mean, a regular common electrical distribution system, right? It'll show you from the transformer outside your house. Okay, that's what this references, right? So you got the 120 and the 120 with the neutral line. And this is literally how it's wired right to your house. And then they'll have even more complex distribution systems like 3-phase and that type of thing in there as well. So I love this book so much. I can't tell you. But then in this one we'll run into a little later on as we start getting into more of the residential. We look at our voltage drop and we see you got your voltage drop formula right here, right? And believe it or not, that's Ohm's law is what that is right there. And we'll go into that later and I'll show you what everything means there. But that's literally Ohm's law, just flavored for what we wanted to do, right? And that's all we're going to use in this class, I promise. It won't be anything too crazy or too complex. Oh, now it's going on. This thing is not cooperating. Oh, we already looked at that. Oh, you have conductor properties. So these are your AWG, American Wire Gauge, and KC Mills. You get your wire sizes pretty much from number 2, which is very, very See, it's an interesting thing with wire size, right? The smaller the number, the bigger the wire. So like number 2 is really large size wire, whereas number 18 is very, very, very small stuff. And in fact, for most stuff in a house, I highly doubt you're going to use that. Maybe for like a doorbell, I don't know though. That's still, yeah, it could possibly use that for a doorbell. But number 2 would be, yeah, it's big. There's possibly some residentials. Usually that would be something you'd run into more in commercial. Residential, pretty much the largest size you're going to run into would be about number 4 right here. And inside of a house, you're pretty much your standards are these two guys, number 12 and number 14, sometimes number 10, depending on what we're doing. But for most of your house layout, those are your 2 wire sizes right there, 12 and 14. But it gives you the sizing of it, you know, what is it actually equal to? But American Wire Gauge is nice and easy. This way we can reference, okay, you tell somebody, oh, I need a spool of number 12, you know, and it's real easy to get. Let's see here. Let me go on. Oh, for some reason this thing is not working right for me. Okay. Oh, unless I'm, my bad. I think we are actually at the end of that part. Anyway, let me close that out. And then I have, of course, I have an actual lecture for us. But for those of you who came late, now I was pointing out we do have I have several homeworks out there. Well, not several. I don't want to make it sound crazy, but I do have a few homeworks out there for us. Yeah, well, that's pretty much until towards the end. It's gonna almost be 2 chapters a week for you guys. I mean, chapters 1 and 2 are fairly easy, but I try to. It's kind of fast paced because I only have 8 weeks and there is a lot of information. So I just like I say, I kind of make it fast. But it shouldn't be too bad. I haven't had trouble with any of the classes in the past with this. So hopefully, you know, but like I say, there's always things that happen in life and whatnot. If you find that you're not able to get the homework into me or something like that, just let me know and we can work out a later date or something like that for you. Excuse me. And now, where are we at here? Let me find my actual chapter 1 lecture. I don't know if I'm going to be able to cover the whole thing. Yeah. See, unfortunately, this week it was such a mad scramble with the whole Corona thing, right? But I don't have the official license yet. They're supposed to be rolling the official Zoom license out to me sometime either today or tomorrow. So hopefully I'll have that, and then from this point on, I won't actually run out of time. Thank God. So just bear with us on this. I know it's kind of been crazy with everything, right? But here we go. So chapter 1. Chapter 1's a lot of the safety stuff that's out there, safety in the workplace. And whenever you start any job, this is pretty much what the first thing that they'll pretty much go through with you on the job. It's like, what safety aspects do you have to go through? You might hear of NFPA 70E qualifications if you end up being an industrial electrician, that kind of thing. So they should always have you go through some kind of safety orientations. And always remember, I mean, when we're dealing with this stuff is it's dangerous, right? Shocks can cause an injury or death, and the great thing is it will hurt the entire time you're dying. No. I mean, even if you're up in the air or something on a ladder and you get shocked and the shock doesn't kill you, the fall might, right? So this stuff's dangerous. We gotta always be aware of that. You know, it doesn't take much. It's actually way down in the milliamps if it goes across your heart, I don't know if anybody's heard of the one hand rule for electrical work. You know, one hand in your pocket, one hand in the panel or something. And the reason being is, so if one hand's in your pocket, you don't run a risk of having the electricity arc across your heart, which is where the danger comes in, right? So then the milliamps, it doesn't take much, and it could stop your heart, and that's pretty much game over. But if you keep your hand, one hand in like your pocket or behind your back or something like that, while you have your hand in a panel, and then another thing, safety-wise, to do would be to like place your wrist. Like if you had your hand in a panel, place your wrist on the edge of the panel, so it like literally forms a ground to the panel just through your hand. So if you get electrocuted, you'll still feel somewhat of a tingle, right? But it'll really only electrocute your hand, and that you can live through. So one of the things we look at is arc flash. And one thing of arc flash, A, the electricity could kill you, but B, it's the temperatures. If you'll see here, arc flash can generate a temperature up to 35,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Yes, that is not a typo. 35,000 degrees. It will vaporize your skin on contact. There's been, and I'm not going to show you pictures of that, but there's been cases where people have literally had like holes burnt right through their arm. And then the great thing is because it's heat, it literally fused the skin on contact. So it's like all that skin that's gone, yeah, it's gone. It's never coming back, which is horrible. But so they classify electrical injuries, right? And you get electrical shock, actual electrocution, and that's when it, arcs from throughout your whole body across your heart. Electrical burns and falls caused by, the shock, and in some cases, I've never quite seen this, but you hear of it where the electrical shock was so great that it literally threw a person. So you'll go flying off a ladder, or even if you're up on like a lift or something like that, you can go flying. It's a lot of power. It's a lot of power. So that's what we're doing. We're just going to go through. And again, if this ends, I see I only have about 5.5 minutes here. I don't think I'm going to be able to get through the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, of course, always call 911, right? And remember, do not touch the person if they are being electrocuted. If they're your body, look around, your buddy or something like that, look around for like a 2x4. Yeah, it's horrible. You're going to crack this guy with a 2x4 to save his life, right? But you definitely don't want to touch the person. And then we look at our electrical tools. You always want to make sure they're rated. Not all tools are created equal. Sometimes you might have a set of lineman pliers, but the plastic coating they have on the handles isn't actually electrical rated. Anything that's actually like electrical rated, you'll have it rated this way. You'll see at the very minimal here is Cat 3. Most meters, or most good meters that you buy out there, like the Flukes, and Milwaukee has a pretty decent one out there, but they'll be both Cat 3 and Cat 4 rated. So you'll be able to use it for most situations. If it's Cat 1, yeah, that's pretty much good to look at, like toys maybe, but I wouldn't look at anything too serious with a Cat 1 rating on it. Usually what you want is at least a Cat 3 on your stuff, and if not, Cat 4. Most times you'll find both Cat 3 and Cat 4 on your tools, and that's pretty much what you want to look for. And then we deal with the aspects of lockout, tagout. You always want to follow proper, good practice procedure. Never, ever, 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 ever work on live circuits if you can avoid it. Usually you want to be journeyman, if not master level, to be able to work on live circuits, just to be able to recognize what you're dealing with. You don't want to take a risk. If anybody asks you to work on a live circuit and you are not a journeyman, yeah, you tell them absolutely not. I mean, you're not paid enough to die, right? But so yeah, only qualified persons can work on energized or live equipment. Even at my stage, I'm quite hesitant about dealing with live circuits because It doesn't. It only takes one time. You want to make sure you have the proper PPE, your good gloves, depending on what you're dealing with. Like arc flash, they have arc flash face shields and hard hats. You have arc flash garments, or you can even have a jumpsuit, or a lot of times a robe. When you buy your safety shoes, you want to look for, there's like a little yellow triangle electrical symbol that'll be on your shoes. You know, not all safety shoes are created equal, but since we're dealing with electrical, you always want to make sure that you have that little yellow triangle on your shoes. Yeah, I'm not going to make it through the end of these slides today, boys. I see I got about 2.5 minutes. But there's you'll see here, and go through the rest of the slides if you will. You'll see there's several organizations out there that actually deal with safety, and all of them, right? They'll give you different aspects. National Fire Protection Agency, they're the ones that do the NEC. OSHA deals with a lot of occupational safety hazards in the workplace. The National Safety Council, they do their own little dibs. And even the Center for Disease Control has stuff in there, you know, when you're dealing with like hazardous materials and stuff like that. You'll find, so you could see any one of these organizations on a stamp. And the cool thing is you can go on their websites and, you know, if you're unsure about a situation, and they will have guidelines for you to deal with, right? But yep, number one, safety cannot be compromised. Don't take chances. Make sure you know what you're doing. You know, basically the first rule of thumb whenever you get in a situation is stop. Stop and assess what you're dealing with. You know, take some minutes. You know, come up with a good plan. Assess what you're doing. Don't just run in there. It's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I've seen this before. No. Never take it for granted. But but I'm gonna stop there. It's like we'll start getting into licensing and permits. But no, definitely go through the homeworks coming up. You got the weekend and everything coming up. I have this homeworks. There's 2 chapters, 1 and 2. They're going to be due on Tuesday, and I think I have the code quiz as well. It's a take home. Everything's on Blackboard. Some of the stuff, don't freak out on. Oh, I'm gonna run out of time. But don't freak out on the grades. I have to go through like the essay questions and stuff like that. I have to actually go through them, and that's when you get your final grade. And I'll leave comments and stuff like that.
You know, about the lab.
Now I'm still working on that part for labs for this. I haven't come up with a concrete solution as of yet. I'm still like looking and talking with Zach. I might just, yeah, we might have to buy Go Labs for the time being, and this will be more informational than anything. And I do apologize. I do.